Okay people, we are in 2019 and we have still got this question. Anyway, we have to get it out of the way. What is programming? I mean, what really that answer will come about? The real answer to this question just reveals itself the more you do programming. But let's talk about it kind of in general for a second. The thing we have to realize is this. The thing we have to realize is this computer in front of you that you are watching the video on. Okay, the mobile phone too. These devices are not very smart. It's incredibly powerful. Like, these devices are incredibly powerful. It's kind of amazing that they exist and that they can do all this stuff, but it doesn't know how to do anything at all. Like, I would be really honest with you, they doesn't know anything. Sorry for ruining your day, but that's the truth. In fact, it needs a human being to write instructions for it to do certain things, like to crush a certain number or to draw certain colors on the screen. Everything has to be written as an instruction for the computer, and this is what it really means to program, to write these instructions. To write an algorithm. What is an algorithm? It's just a sequential list of instructions that solves a particular problem. An algorithm, for example, I don't believe I'm going to use this as an example, but here we go. Milking a cow, or we can say that we can put our right hand in and put your right hand out, and put your right hand in and shake it all about. Hokey pokey, it feels really awkward to give this example, but that's your program right there. In fact, not for a computer to follow, but for a toddler to show him how to milk a cow or something like that. Anyway, so let's just sort of think of another example here. Okay, that was really dumb, but let's think about another one. So let's say that you have met somebody who has very poor dental hygiene and they never brush their teeth, and they also don't know how to brush their teeth, and you need to explain them how to brush their teeth. Well, how would you do that? You may say that take a toothbrush and put some toothpaste on it and brush it back and forth. Right, that might be some instructions for them to follow, but what we have to realize with programming is what makes programming hard is the fact that the computer doesn't have any intuition or ability to communicate, from one human being to another human being with instruction. There's in the human beings, there's body language, there's intuition, there is all sort of ways that we communicate without kind of details and Now, on the other hand, writing programs, you do need that specificity, and that one of the things that going to make it hard, I guess, is understanding the syntax. And the fact that if I say teeth your brush, so the human being can figure out here what I'm saying, even though it sounds weird. But with the computer, you know that if you just left out one word or one letter or even a semicolon, one piece of the punctuation, the whole thing is just not going to work at all. And that's kind of make things challenging. Let's return to this brushing your teeth. So let's actually even be a little bit more specific. We might say, the first step if you're writing an algorithm for brushing our teeth, so the first instruction in that algorithm would be, or the first step would be to locate your toothbrush first. The next step could be locate your toothpaste. I don't know how absurd we need to get. Also we can say that use the two fingers to pick the toothbrush, right? We can go crazy specific with these instructions, but we need to say like squeeze the toothpaste onto the brush. Right there is just sequence of steps here, and rather than going through this myself, you might take this as a little exercise to yourself and try to do it the way you want, and then try to find a friend that is willing to follow your instructions and see if they perform the program correctly, and also find out were there any bugs in your system. You know how does that really works, but I want to mention a few other things about this. So let's consider the following. What if I said even before this step, if it's 9 a.m., do this right? So like we can say that if it's 9 a.m., locate your toothbrush, locate your toothpaste, start these steps. So there are the things that I'm starting to point out. The fact that the programming is not just a matter of saying do this, do that. There is logic, there is sophisticated logic that's possible here, where we start having conditions. If this is met, do or perform these steps. So that's one of the things that you want to start thinking about, right? If it's the morning, brush your teeth. If it's noon, I do not stop making this video and go eat some lunch or anything else. So the other thing that I might mention would be that there is something that is further along that could be put bristles on front teeth. Next step is move bristle horizontally and rapidly back and forth, or something like that. I'm just making these steps up. It's really hard to come up with these steps on when we are sitting in front of the system and making a video, but here these are. Am I really talking about how to brush your teeth? Is this real, or am I just dreaming? Oh my goodness. Anyway, we might also say put these 2 steps of bristle on repeat, like for 10 iterations or something like that, to make it a loop. I'm just willing to show you that as you start writing these steps, think about are there conditions, are there things to get repeated? How would you really design this algorithm that has a beginning, a middle, and an end? That someone could follow and no details would be lost. This is really the beginning of writing a computer program. And if you think about making the game Pong, you are really going to be doing the same thing. Like you would say, draw a rectangle on the left side of the screen, draw a rectangle on the right side of the screen, draw a circle in the middle, move the circle towards the rectangle. If the circle hits the rectangle, turn the circle in the opposite direction. These are all the steps. If the circle goes past the rectangle, increase the score of the other player by 1. Try to write out these instructions in English for the game Pong. Now there's a couple of things I want to mention about this. One is we have just described this concept as pseudocode. This is something you will want to do. One is we have just described this concept known as pseudocode. This is something you will want to do in future, in your future life, unless you have already turned it off and you are riding a bike or doing something else, or having some fun. But anyway, pseudocode is something that you would want to that you would get used to. The syntax of programming can be challenging and difficult and hard to do if you can, if you directly sit down and write the code. But if you can plan out your code in English or whatever your language is, then you can begin to design the steps of your program in advance, which will help you when you go and sit down to actually writing the program itself. But this brings another thing, which is the philosophy of incremental development. Here is the real reason why programming is so hard, why everything we are going to do is going to be challenging and not going to be just doing everything instantly. And indeed, you are going to struggle with doing things if you sit down for 8 hours and write everything in one go. You have a very incredibly and powerful thing in your head, which is your brain, and you can think about all sorts of sophisticated systems and ideas and designs and come up with the pseudocode steps and understand how stuff works, right? Maybe you haven't played the game Pong. You haven't played the game Pong before, but if you have kind of know how it works, you could describe it to me. You could understand. You could probably, without watching a single video anymore, you could sort of describe how to write a computer program for Pong. But actually putting that down into a code all at once is kind of impossible. The idea that you really need to use to is taking an idea like Pong, and you can break it down in your head into lots and lots of mini programs. Like here is a mini program, one that draws a rectangle on the screen. Another could be move the rectangle with the key presses. Another one could be that just draw a circle or move the circle. My point here is you can create lots of these small programs. Like you can divide Pong into lots and lots of small programs and then create one program at a time, and then in the end combine everything. You cannot just sit down and and write the whole thing at once. Like if you write tons and tons of code and then run it, and something doesn't work in it, it would be a big hassle for finding out those bugs in those 1,000 lines. But if you sit down and write 4 lines and then check, and then again write 4 lines and check, and then again write 4 lines and check, then that would be really easy, and that would make your life a whole lot easier. So this was the whole point, that these little incremental changes or little incremental programs would make your life whole lot easier. But to most people this seems wrong, because they say we understand how it all works, and it would seem almost very toddlery thing. You would say I should go faster and do everything in one go. But this analogy here is wrong. You should always break problem in small chunks and then try to solve these small chunks one at a time. And after doing that, combine everything in the end. So think about learning a new foreign language. You will learn first small things like nouns, like adjectives, like sentences, etc. And like it's going to be a long process, and same is true for learning this new language of writing code. So okay, that's really what programming is. Kind of what is your first program, how we are thinking about and how we are going to approach all these problems as we begin to write actual example. Anyway, this video was created because I already did an explanatory video on what is hacking, and so I also wanted to create a similar video on programming as well. So in the next few videos we'll create Mac changer program, and indeed that would be an interesting one. So this is pretty much it for this video. Have a pleasant day. Until next time, enjoy hacking. Peace.